Hello everyone, this is Professor Robert Solis. Welcome to this video lesson. We're going to continue talking about the repetition structure. In this case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new project that displays a running sum based on the user input. So let me go ahead and select Windows Forms application. This is going to be a C# program. And we'll call this repetition 3. Specifically, what we're dealing with is a running sum calculator. I'll just put running sum. Let me go ahead and open up the toolbox. Once the form opens up here, there we go. So the toolbox, and I'll also need the properties panel. And I'm going to drag and drop. Actually, I don't even have to drag and drop. I can just simply click and place onto the form a button, a label, and a text box. I want to make sure that all of the font sizes for these items are 12 points. So over here, I'll type in 12 for the font size. Same thing for the label, 12 points. Finally, for the button, 12 points. All right. Let me go ahead and move the label to the upper left-hand corner. And now I'm going to change the text property, from label 1 to enter an integer. If that's the case, I'm going to place a text box next to that label, as such, and then I'll place a button underneath, and then we just increase the width of that button. The text property for that button will be calculate running sum, like that. I'm going to need a label down here. So I'll just take this label, copy and paste it with Control-C, Control-V as in Victor. And I'm going to change the auto size to false, change the border style to fixed single. Let me go ahead and arrange this and then open it up like this. I don't want the text in the upper left-hand corner. So that means changing the text align property to middle center. And then finally, I can get rid of the text that's currently in this label. So I'll just simply hit backspace to get rid of that text. Let me go ahead and change the size of the form by selecting it like this. I want to get rid of the minimize and the maximize button. And then I want to change form 1 to running sum calculator. All right, I'm going to click Save All. It looks like everything is done except for the names. So what I'll do is I'll select the text box, go to the name property, and type txt user num. Will be the name for the text box. For the button, we're going to call that btn calc running sum. So btn calc running sum. No spaces are allowed. And then finally for the label, we'll just simply call that LBL result. LBL result. Once again, let me just double check to make sure that everything has a name. And so there's a name over here, here, and here. Sounds good. Let me double click the button to go into the code area. I don't need the properties panel anymore, so let me close that. And I'll type in declarations. Get user input, calculation, output. So we are now ready to enter the code. So you have to ask yourself, in terms of the declarations, what are those values that the user is going to give to you, and what are you going to give back to the user? Well, in this case, the user is going to enter an integer, and then we're going to display the running sum for based on that user number. So for example, if the user enters 3, what is 1 plus 2 plus 3? If the user enters 5, what is the result of 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5? So forth and so on. Therefore, let's go ahead and create a variable, integer variable, called user num. Let's also create another variable called running sum. And I'll set that to 0 at first, because the running sum is not equal to anything yet. We have to wait till the user inputs a value. Now, Because this is a series of numbers on a circle, so if I enter 5 over here, that's going to be 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5. I want you to think about a series of numbers as a number on a circle. That being the case, you're going to need a counter because we're going to be using a loop to add all of these numbers one by one. And then I'm going to need an output variable, a string output variable. I'll set it to nothing. This is eventually going to look something like this. 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 equals, and then, well, what is that? Let me see here. So that's 77, 8, 9, 10, right? So the running product of 1, 2, 3, 4 is 10. So that's eventually what we want, to display something like that. Okay, so let me get rid of this. That's just an example of what we're going to be doing. In terms of getting the user input, so that's going to be user num. We're going to convert dot to int 32, whatever is inside of that text box, .txt. And then we're ready for the calculation. Well, whenever you're going to enter into a looping structure, you always have to start the counter off as something. All right, well, I'm going to argue that the counter should start off equal to 1. Why? Because the counter is going to be the numbers that I'm going to be adding to the running sum. So the counter will be 1, and then it'll be 2, and then 3. So what's 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5? So forth and so on. I want to make sure that I keep track of that running sum, and I'll append it to this variable running sum. So what I'll do is, while the counter is less than or equal to the user number. If that's the case, then we're going to still going to add these numbers. Now what I want is what I had over here, 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4. So I'll do this. I'll say within an if statement, as long as the counter is less than the user number, if that's true, then we're going to change the output. We're going to update the output such that we're going to concatenate the old output with convert dot to string, whatever the value of counter is. And then I want to concatenate that with a plus symbol. Now, what if the counter is not less than user number? So I'm going to use an else statement that says, well, concatenate the output with convert dot to string, again with counter. But when we're done, we're going to concatenate that with an equal symbol. Now, I know that this probably doesn't make sense to you right now. When I run the program and step by step show you what's going on, then it will make more sense. So for right now, you're just copying what I'm typing, and then I promise you I'm going to go into a deeper explanation. To propagate through the loop, we're going to increment the counter by 1. When we are done with that, then over here in the output section, we're going to say update the output such that we are going to concatenate that with convert dot to string, whatever the result is of running sum. And then we'll just simply take that output label and assign output to it. So first, let's see what this thing does, and then let's go into details of how this program works. So if the user enters the number 5, say for example, 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5 is 0. Oh, that's not right. Obviously, we did something wrong, and I think I see what I forgot to do. Over here, before the if statement, I forgot to actually change running sum. So running sum is going to be the old running sum. We're going to add the value of counter to that. So whatever the old value of running sum is, let's add counter to it, and now the new updated value of running sum is going to be this new value. Well, let me save my work, start the program again, type in the number 5, and then we see that 5 plus 4 is 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Yep, that's correct. How about the running sum of 3? Well, that's 1 plus 2 plus 3, which is equal to 6. Looks good. How about 20, say, for example? So that's going to be a bunch of different numbers. Unfortunately, I don't have enough room here, so I got to choose a smaller number. How about 15? Is that? No, it looks like 10s. So maybe I should just put in the number 9 here. So 1 plus 2 plus 3 all the way up to 9 is 45. All right, so our program works. Let's go ahead and stop it and come back over here and explain how this program works. What I'm going to do is to stop right here. I'm going to place a break before the while statement. Let me go ahead and run the program. And I'll enter the number 3. We know that 1 plus 2 plus 3 is 6. Let me go ahead and calculate. We're freezing time right here. I have my autos panel open up. I also have locals if you want that. Autos is fine. At this point, the counter is 0. The user number is 3. Is 1 less than or equal to 3? Yes. So I'm going to step and go into the while statement. So you can't see these tools on my screen. You could probably see these guys: step into, step over, step out. So we're going to step over. That sounds kind of weird. It sounds like we're going to step over the while statement. But when we talk about functions, this idea of stepping into a function, stepping over a function, stepping out of a function is really what this is, the reasoning why we see those words. But really, in this case, we're just simply stepping. All right, so this is a true statement. So I step. We are now in the while statement. Let me step again. We are about to take the running sum, which, as you can see, is 0. We are about to add it to counter, which, as you can see, is 1. 1 plus 0 is 1, so running sum was 0. When I step and execute this statement, now running sum is going to be 1. All right, is the counter less than the user num? So is this guy over here, 1, less than user num? 3, yes it is. Now, why do I have this if statement? The reason why I have this if statement is because if I don't take into consideration the counter being less than the user number, I'll see 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5 with no equal symbol. So I tell you what, why don't I stop this, and I'm going to comment this out just so you can see what happens. So let me take this guy over here, and I'm going to comment that code out temporarily by selecting this comment out. Let's see what happens. Let me take off the break, start the program, type in the number 3. It says 1 plus 2 plus and then 6. Okay, well, that's not what I want. I want 1 plus 2 plus 3, and then I want to say equals 6. So again, I'm doing something wrong here just to show you what it would be like. If I wanted to put an equal symbol right there, it should increment this from the counter all the way up to and equal to the user num. So let's see what happens now. Type in the number 3. All right, 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus, well, that really should be equals. But you'll notice that the reason why it has plus there is because every time I loop through this, we are concatenating a plus symbol to this. Well, that's not what I want to do for the very last item. For the very last item, I want this. 1 plus 2 plus 3, and then the equal symbol. So that's why I have this chunk of code over here that says, well, as long as the counter is less than the user num, that's going to give me the 1 plus 2 plus 3. But when we get to that very last user number, which is 3, then that's where this else statement comes in. So the counter is equal to 3 in this case, and then that's when we want to have 3 with an equal symbol after that. So again, let me just stop the program at this point right here. And I'll type in the number 3. All right. First of all, the counter, 1, is less than the user number. Running sum at this point is 1. Is 1 less than the user number? Yes, it is. So that's true, which means that we're going to execute this output statement, and we're going to skip the else statement. So notice that output is 1 plus. The counter is 1. We are about to increment that 1. So when I step, you can see now that the counter is 2. We are about to go back to the top and ask, shall we do another repetition, another iteration? Well, since the counter is less than or equal to the user number, that's true, so we'll step in. The running sum is about to be updated, so the running sum is now going to be 1, I'll hover over here, 1 plus 2, which is now 3. So if I go over here, execute this guy, now you can see the running sum is 3. All right, is the counter less than the user number? Yes, it is. So now notice what happens. See what our output string is going to look like. Our output string is now 1 plus, but now it's going to be 1 plus 2 plus. And we want to keep on doing this until we get to the user number and then have an equal symbol display after that. So let's take this counter and increment it by 1. Now I'll step through this. Counter is now equal to 3. We'll step and go back to the while statement and ask, shall we do this again? Well, as long as the counter is less than or equal to the user num. Let's see, is 3 less than or equal to? It's not less than, but it certainly is equal to. This is a true statement, so we go into the while statement. What are we going to do? We're going to increment running sum. Running sum is currently 3. The counter is 3. We are about to add those two. 3 plus 3 is 6, so now running sum is 6. Now, is the counter less than the user number? No, the counter is not less than the user number, 3 and 3. So watch what happens over here. When I step, it goes to the else statement. What is the else statement going to do? It's going to say take that counter, which is 3, and concatenate an equal symbol after that. So now notice over here what the output looks like. It's got the 3 equals. We don't want a 3 plus, 3 equals. I increment the counter, okay? I increment the counter. Now, is counter less than or equal to user number? No. Counter is 4, user number is 3. This is a false statement. Watch what happens now when I step. It goes out of the while statement, and we are about to execute this output statement over here because we just jumped out of the while statement. This is the next one. And what are we going to do? We're going to take the output, which currently is 1 plus 2 plus 3 equals, and we are about to assign to that, or concatenate, I should say, whatever the value of running sum is, which is 6. So now, if I go over here and step, notice now what the output is. 1 plus 2 plus 3 equals 6. I could take that and display it to the label. So let me just go ahead and click continue. And now you can see the result down here in the label. For any number that's entered, we are about to calculate the running sum. All right, so that was a very good example about the power of the while statement and having if statements within a while statement to check conditions. And we want to make sure that we display that equal symbol. And we don't want to have a plus symbol at the very last number. So again, this was a great way to figure out how to solve a problem like that. So this is Professor Robert Solis. I hope this video lesson was helpful. Have a good day, and we'll see you next time.